Hello everyone, I am Mr. Aaron from Guitar Totality, bringing you this new guitar theory for the 21st century and beyond. So then, keep watching and revisit this video as often as necessary in order to fully absorb the vital guitar theory contained within. Please like, subscribe, and share this video for more guitar theory content. Now then, let's get right to it.
There are 12 notes on the guitar in total. These 12 notes repeat in a cycle, higher in pitch and lower in pitch. One full rotation of this cycle is called an octave. If we play all 12 notes in sequence order and reach the octave, we are playing the chromatic scale. A scale is a selection of pitches or notes that repeat in an octave cycle. The distance between each pitch in the chromatic scale is called a half step. The chromatic scale therefore contains a sequence of 12 half steps. Half, 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 and half. This sequence of pitch distances or intervals is what gives the chromatic scale its unique tonal structure or tonality. When we begin with a specific note in the chromatic scale, play through all 12 half steps in sequence order, then reach the octave in full rotation. We give the scale a sense of tonal resolution. The note we begin with, or root note, is the same pitch as when we reach the octave note. This root and resolving note, or tone, is called the tonic. The tonic names the scale. In this example, B chromatic. That is the key. As a scale, the chromatic tonality is resolved with the B note. In this example, as music, we can compose and arrange different patterns, sequences, phrases, and melodies, all resolving in B chromatic tonality as well. The tonic, B, holds everything together like a musical nucleus. We call this the tonal center. B is the tonal center in this example. We can compose and arrange music using any of the 12 notes as our tonal center in chromatic tonality. Just remember, the tonic names the scale, giving us the key. A chromatic, B chromatic, C sharp chromatic, etc. Now then, let us switch focus to one of the most common scales used in music, the diatonic scale. The diatonic scale is a 7-note scale with a well-known and unique tonal structure, or tonality. One half step, followed by 2 whole steps, then another half step, followed by 3 whole steps. Half, whole, whole, half, whole, whole, whole. Unlike the chromatic scale, when we begin with a specific note in the diatonic scale, play through the sequence of intervals, then reach the octave tonic. This sequence of intervals changes depending on which note we select as our tonic or tonal center. We have now discovered the concept of modes. A mode is a specific rotation of notes in a scale. This rotation or sequence of notes will have a completely unique order of intervals from root tonic to octave tonic. So then, when we begin with the first half step in diatonic tonal structure or tonality, then play through all 7 diatonic notes, reaching the octave tonic, we have completed the first diatonic mode. Half, whole, whole, half, whole, whole, whole. This specific sequence, or rotation of intervals, contains the majority of notes closest in pitch distance to the root tonic. That means this specific mode contains the greatest amount of tone resolution moving toward the root tonic when compared to all 7 diatonic modes. Therefore, this mode is the root mode of the diatonic scale. Since the root is the beginning, this is the first diatonic mode. Now then, we can continue this process using all 7 of the diatonic notes as the tonic in full mode rotation. Notice how the sequence of intervals changes for each mode presented in order. First mode: half, whole, whole, half, whole, whole, whole. Second mode: whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. Third mode: whole, half, whole, 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 half, whole. Fourth mode: half, whole, 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 half, whole, whole. Fifth mode: whole, 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 half, whole, whole, half. Sixth mode: whole, whole, half, whole, whole, half, whole. And seventh mode: whole, half, whole, whole, half, whole, whole. The uniqueness of each mode sequence of intervals is what gives each mode its characteristic tonality. This tonality is relative to the scale in which all of these 7 modes are derived from, the diatonic scale. That is also the key, the relative key, mode specifically. If we compose and arrange music using the first mode in this diatonic example, then the key of that music is diatonic first mode in B. If we move our tonal center in mode rotation or modulate to the D note in this diatonic scale, then we have changed the relative key to diatonic third mode in D. This is the process for identifying relative modal key in this diatonic tonality. Now then, we can use this process for all possible scales and modes on the guitar. The scale and mode guitar theory is the same for all the possibilities. However, because of the vast number of scale and mode possibilities, it is far more efficient to organize them all in logical order. For example, the diatonic scale is the 66th possible 7-note scale. Therefore, we can name the key as such: 7-note 66, third mode in D. More on this in future content. So then, what about chord theory? Chord theory works in tandem with scale and mode theory. Basically, a chord is a group of notes played together in unison or in arpeggio, one at a time. Every mode in a scale has certain chords that correspond to each mode. The main corresponding chords for each mode in a scale contains 3 different notes. For a 7-note scale such as the diatonic scale or 7-note 66, the first, third, and fifth notes in every mode are selected to create each mode's corresponding chord. Now then, let us return to our previous diatonic scale example. We will extract the first, third, and fifth notes from each mode. First mode, B is the tonic, so that is the first note. The third note from B in this mode is a whole step and a half in pitch distance. This is called a minor third interval, written with a lowercase m 3. The fifth note from B in this mode is 3 whole steps in pitch distance. This is called a diminished fifth interval, written with a degrees symbol 5. We now have our group of notes to name this chord. We name a chord by root note or tonic, and the intervals contained within the chord grouping. In this example, the chord is named as B minor third diminished fifth. Moving on to the second mode, C is the tonic, so that is the first note. The third note from C in this mode is 2 whole steps in pitch distance. This is called a major third interval, written as a 3. The fifth note from C in this mode is 3.5 steps in pitch distance. This is simply called a fifth interval, written as a 5. We can now name the main corresponding chord for this second diatonic mode, C 3-5. For the third mode, D is the tonic. The third note is a minor third. The fifth note is a fifth interval or 5. So, the corresponding chord for the third mode is D minor third 5. We can continue in this manner and figure out all 7 main corresponding chords for this diatonic scale. Here they are. First, B minor 3 diminished 5. Second, C 3-5. Third, D minor 3-5. Fourth, E minor 3-5. Fifth, F 3-5. Sixth, G 3-5. And seventh, A minor 3-5.
Some of you may be wondering why we are naming chords in this manner, or why we name the modes of a scale in this manner as well. The reason for this approach is that it works for all possible scale, mode, and chord relative key systems. Traditional music theory, especially in the Western world, is biased to particular scales, modes, and chords. In the West, the diatonic scale is known as the major scale, declaring the second mode as the first mode and dominating tonal center. Secondarily to this major scale, the Western world teaches the minor scale as well, which is actually just another mode of the same diatonic scale. In this hierarchy of tonality, the diatonic or major scale is thought of as dominant over all other scales and modes. Some learners and professors in the Western Hemisphere go so far as to say that any other scale or mode other than the diatonic or major scale is considered synthetic. These traditionalists declare all modes other than diatonic synthetic modes. Well then, not if anything to do about it I can. I, Mr. Aaron, stand for equality in all scale, mode, and chord relative key systems, equal yet unique. I have figured out and organized all possible scale, mode, and chord relative key systems on the guitar, and placed all of this into one comprehensive instructional reference guide, Guitar Totality. That's 2,048 scales, modes, and main corresponding chords from all 12 tonics. That's 24,576 total possibilities. So what are you waiting for? See the link in the description for more information on this truly ultimate guitar guide for all guitarists. Please like, subscribe, and share for more instructional content. See you next time.